This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by our friends over at Dipstick Vapes, makers of the innovative Dipper Vaporizer. The Dipper can be used as both a traditional vape pen that you can load up with concentrates, or with a quick swap out of its tip, be made into a device that will let you vaporize concentrates directly on the fly as if you were a hummingbird. A magical vaporizing hummingbird. It's the perfect device for cannabis concentrates consumers who value portability, convenience, and quality construction. Pop over to dipstickvapes.com to buy a Dipper yourself or to make an inquiry about selling the Dipper at your shop or dispensary. The Dipper's strong sales history means that you'll be moving them swiftly off your shelves. One more time, that's dipstickvapes.com for both single Dipper purchases and wholesale orders. And if you buy a Dipper today, make sure to use the discount code MJ today to not only save yourself 15% off your purchase, but to also have Dipstick Vapes donate a matching amount to Students for Sensible Drug Policy. Dipstickvapes.com, discount code MJ today. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Wednesday, February 28th, 2018, and you're tuned in to episode 441 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. Our top story of the day is the announcement out of Arkansas of its first 5 medical marijuana cultivation license winners. Arkansas is slowly rolling out a limited medical marijuana system that will have, once fully up and running, 32 dispensaries located around the state serving up medicine to patients. State voters passed medical marijuana via ballot measure in 2016 after 2 competing measures battled it out in the polls. Congratulations to the first 5 winning companies, who must now each pay a $100,000 licensing fee and post a $500,000 performance bond. Pop over to Marijuana Business Daily for the full list of winners. New Jersey regulators are undergoing a review process looking at marijuana's designation under state law as a Schedule I drug, which are generally considered not to have any medicinal value. Yesterday, officials with the Division of Consumer Affairs announced that they were looking at that designation of cannabis with an eye on the growing body of evidence showing its efficacy in treating a number of medical conditions. 4 months ago, a state appeals court ordered the review, which has no hard deadline or timeline for completion. The state said they will solicit public input before finalizing any kind of decision. This is another good one to open up for the full read, as things are moving swiftly in New Jersey to advance marijuana policy, so there's a fair bit of background. Our final top story of the day winds us up in Massachusetts, where yesterday the 5-member Cannabis Control Commission voted in favor of a plan requiring medical marijuana dispensaries who plan to pursue an adult use business license to set aside for patient customers 35% of their available product, or an amount equivalent to 6 months of medical sales. This is a storyline I reported on recently, as activists are concerned about adult use sales diverting supply away from patients in need once adult use dispensaries start to open up later this year. Jeremiah McKinnon, a board advisor with the Massachusetts Patients Advocacy Alliance, was happy with yesterday's decision, saying, quote, "It helps patients feel more assured that this issue will be taken seriously and that as time goes on, these companies are going to be held to having a certain supply set aside for the patients." Unquote. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor Dipstick Vapes, makers of the innovative Dipper Vaporizer, which can be used as both a traditional vape pen as well as a magical vape straw, which you can apply directly to concentrates to consume. It takes 4, maybe 5 seconds to swap out the Dipper's different tips, so you can carry around both to ensure maximum flexibility in how you use your concentrates. Pop over to dipstickvapes.com today to check out the Dipper in action, to place an order for yourself, and to inquire about wholesale orders. If you have a shop or dispensary and you're not selling the Dipper, you're leaving a lot of money on the table every month in lost sales. And if today is the day you order a Dipper for yourself, don't forget to use the discount code MJ today to not only save yourself 15% off the cost of the already affordable dipper, but to also have Dipstick Vapes donate the same amount you save to our friends over at Students for Sensible Drug Policy. One last time, that's dipstickvapes.com, discount code MJ today, all one word. And don't forget, you can find Students for Sensible Drug Policy at ssdp.org. All right, time for the Blitz. Leafly has a good piece up looking at how international law plays into Canada's move towards nationwide legalized adult use cannabis to be rolled out later this year. As Leafly writer Randy Drusen has it, Canada will be breaking a total of 3 United Nations treaties in legalizing adult use: the 1961 Single Convention on Narcotics Drugs, the 1971 Convention on Psychotropic Substances, and the 1988 Convention Against Illicit Traffic in Narcotics, Drugs, and Psychotropic Substances. Canada has a mechanism to remove itself from those treaties, but must give the UN a full year's notice ahead of time. It's not clear if that's happened yet. This one is a bit wonkish, so maybe not a bad one to read in full. A new bill introduced in the Colorado State House would allow businesses to open up so-called marijuana tasting rooms, which would allow customers of dispensaries and other cannabis businesses to consume in spaces similar to those used by breweries to serve up their beery products. State Representative Jonathan Singer's HB 1258 would limit consumption to vaporizers and single-serving edibles. We'll track any progress it makes. Yesterday, a Maryland State House panel voted in favor of a number of proposed amendments to a bill introduced by Delegate Cheryl D. Glenn that does, among other things, raise the number of licensed cultivators in the state from 15 to 20. Delegate Glenn is also chair of the state's Legislative Black Caucus and has been active in pushing for better representation of non-white entrepreneurs among the state's cannabis business license holders. Her bill will go up before the State House Health and Government Operations Committee at the end of the week. The city of Oakland is considering a plan to lower its tax rate for legal cannabis companies in the face of surrounding areas doing the same and the general feeling within the state that marijuana taxes may be too high, in some cases reaching upwards of 40%. The Berkeley City Council just cut their 10% tax rate in half, and Oakland city councilors say they want to stay competitive with both neighboring cities as well as the illicit market, which charges 0% in taxes. This is a good one to read in full, as this is an issue likely to pop up in other places in California and other states with high tax burdens. With the first of his 2 back-to-back headlines, our buddy Tom Angel over at Marijuana Moments picked up on some good news out of the U.S. territory of Guam, where Republican Governor Eddie Calvo has included the legalization of marijuana into a list of possible revenue streams that he sent to fellow Guam lawmakers on Monday. And in the nearby Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, a fellow U.S. territory, lawmakers are taking up talks this week over a proposed bill to legalize cannabis. As with all of Tom's stories, you should pop over for all the links and details. Tom's other news pickup today is a touching video out of Arkansas showing a local news anchor announcing on the air that she is involved with one of the 5 cultivation license winners I mentioned at the top of the show. Fox 13 anchor Donna Terrell explained that her participation in the project was motivated from the unfortunate passing of her daughter from cancer. Ms. Terrell said, quote, "I know medical marijuana would not have saved her life, but based on my research and experience as her caregiver, I know she would have benefited greatly. Medical marijuana would have made those last few months, weeks, and days much more tolerable. I will miss her every day," unquote. And finally for today, we have a story out of Alabama that just set off my justice alarm. Last week, 20-year-old Matthew Qualls was arrested by police for some pretty serious cannabis charges just 4 days after he was quoted in a newspaper story about the improper use of taxpayer funds to pay for yard work at the private home of Etowah County Sheriff Todd and Trenkin. Mr. Qualls was quoted in a story on AL.com about receiving a check from Sheriff and Trenkin to pay him for yard work that was drawn from a bank account designated to pay for inmates' meals at the Sheriff's County Jail. 4 days later, a team of narcotics police came through the door of Mr. Quall's apartment and arrested him for allegedly having just over a kilogram of cannabis. But as it turns out, Mr. Qualls was far from being a big-time dealer and rather was in the process of making some cannabis butter with friends when police showed up. The stated weight of over 1,000 grams included the butter Mr. Qualls and his friends were in the process of making, even though by state law it shouldn't have. This is a pretty clear case of an Alabama sheriff abusing his power to get back at people helping to highlight his previous abuses of office. I hope this arrest has the Streisand effect on Sheriff Todd N. Trankin and helps lead to his ouster. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, Dipstick Vapes, and to all of our awesome patron listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the patron listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says, Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with Marijuana Today.
One take, Shay. One take.